If you would please join me in the responsive reading. What's right? What's wrong? What's good? What's bad? We see clarity of good values, so we might live a life of integrity. How do you discern truth from all the raucous voices? We come to explore and reflect on noble and sacred ideas. What is your aim? Good morning. My name's Kristen Keys. I'd like to welcome you to Fountain Street Church, where you are free to grow your soul, to expand not just your knowledge, but your heart. Let's just get it out there. I'm obviously someone living with a disability. For those of you that don't know me, I have muscular dystrophy. And you might ask, why am I telling you this? Well, I've lived my life always feeling different and simply wanting to feel part of. Now that I'm older and wiser, I see we all have struggles. Mine are no worse than any of yours. We're all on a roller coaster going up and down on this journey we call life. I first met Fountain Street Church while I was a student at Kendall just down the block. I was required to take a writing class where the professor handed out a few sermons from Duncan Littlefair. At that point, I was intrigued to see words of Emerson and Thoreau coming from a church. Then I walked through the doors at graduation time, and I was astounded by the beauty of this building. When I had my first son, my husband and Eric knew we wanted to be part of a community, especially because we do not have any close family in the area. We knew our Catholic past wasn't going to work. I remembered Fountain Street, so we started coming here since about 2001. There's lots of ways you can be involved at Fountain Street Church. Some of the things I've been involved in have been I've taught character school, I've been a first responder, I'm an Orange District leader, I'm part of Parent Circle. One of my favorites was helping co-lead the Christmas Eve pageant with Matthew Cockrum, and he used to call us his drama queens. I helped develop the early service the first year, and now I'm leading Women's Circle. So as you can see, the past 13 years have been very busy. Not only did our family of four become part of a welcome community, but personally I was given a gift very precious to me, and that is a purpose outside of the home. My muscular dystrophy does not allow me to hold a job out in the world, but the fact that I've been trusted with responsibility here has given me a great lift. Working with others and making dear friends that see past my struggle and my issues, I am so grateful. I'm here to tell my story because I want to thank this community for letting our family be part of. Fountain Street Church is our church home. We are lucky to be part of. Our sons will grow up here being part of Fountain Street Church and all the character that it provides. So if this is your first time here or you've been here many, many times, I want to say welcome. And at Fountain Street, we believe everyone deserves a life that is meaningful, a life that makes a difference, a life that changes the world. Welcome to Fountain Street Church.
Be What are you drinking there?
Glass of tap water.
Tap water? Why not a bottle of crystal clear, glacier-fed mountain spring water bottled at the source?
'Cause I like a lot of crap in my water.
Well, then you're in luck because the standards for testing bottled water, much lower than the standards for testing municipal water.
You mean I can get a lot more microbes and particulates in bottled water?
You bet. Plus, this bottle costs $1.59.
That's way more than tap water.
I know. So, pay up, drink up.
And be good to the environment.
Thank you. Speaking of truth, I chose the quote for the bulletin and found let me go look that up. Do the Google thing, right? Beware the man of one book. I have that saved as a quote from Isaac Disraeli, a British writer of the late 1700s, early 1800s, from his book Curiosities of Literature. But I found it went back much farther than that. It's attributed to Thomas Aquinas, who was a progressive thinker of his day, embraced Aristotle and the idea of natural theology. So now that quote is even more dear to me, that it is from a Christian saint. Beware the man of one book. Now, if you were such a people, this sermon would be much easier, for I would read from that one book and tell you how wonderful those truths are, and then support that reading with other passages from that same book, and you would go home feeling you'd heard a great sermon. Alas, you are not such a people. Thank God. Values. My dictionary tells me a principle, standard, or quality considered worthwhile or desirable. It includes moral values, spiritual values, religious values, political values, and so on. So where do we get our values? Well, from our parents as we grow up, from our community. We get them from our traditions, our religious traditions, our political, philosophical, cultural traditions, but also from our contemporary world, our media, our institutions, our science, our art, and from our personal relationships. We have dear friends with whom we share important values, and we support each other and help each other grow. But also from our internal self, our intellect, our reason, our emotion, our intuition, our BS detector, helps us reject some things. Well, how do we figure it all out? All of these sources that come to us. Well, all enlightens all, and we have that duty to sort out everything that comes to us and reject much. There is a saying that if your mind is sufficiently open, many people will throw garbage in it. And of course, we also have to beware the person of one media station. We need multiple sources. So we seek, as liberals, and embrace from many, many sources. And we don't simply accept everything either. We are a bit of critique things pretty seriously. What I'm going to come to at the end, I might as well give you right now and say it a couple of times along the way. In our journey, we must come to love ourselves and care for ourselves, love each other and care for each other in the world, for all humanity, and care for the earth, the planet upon which we live. And from that caring, from that love for those things, should spring our values. And we should test our values always against those principles of our love for self, for humanity, for the earth. Now, our personal values determine our personal behavior, and our cultural values determine our national behavior. And so I'd like to start with the big picture first and just talk a little bit about the world, politics, religion, cultures, and then later we'll get to personal stuff. As part of the handout, on the bottom portion, you will see a reference to a gentleman by the name of Jonathan Haidt. How many of you were able to attend the lecture at Grand Valley State University in October where he spoke? Anybody go to that? Okay, a couple of you, yes. It was wonderful. And he has a moral foundations theory in which he set up the yin and yang of 6 items. The first 3, he says, liberals embrace, but conservatives embrace all 6, meaning that the difference between liberals and conservatives are basically those last 3 and how we view them. So let's focus on those. It's pretty easy to suggest or to figure out that caring is better than harming, and fairness is better than cheating, and liberty is better than oppression. Those are kind of obvious, hopefully. But what about loyalty, authority, and sanctity? Well, loyalty can be a good thing, or it can be a bad thing. It depends on what you're loyal to. If you're loyal to a tradition that is simply full of dogma and mythologies, it can be a bad thing. Some people are so loyal they'll even strap bombs on themselves and go blow up innocent people. So loyalty is a questionable thing. We have many myths in our society about capitalism. You know, that corporations are people and free markets will solve everything. We have some mythologies about individualism. You know, everybody can make it in America. There's no barriers to anyone. And of course, we're number one as a nation. We're the greatest nation on earth. We're number one in, I guess it's incarcerating people. I think that's the only thing. And then we fall into the 20s and 30s when it comes to things like health care and education. But many try to keep our mythologies alive and how wonderful we are. Saves us from self-examination, you know. Well, what about authority? How about obeying authority? Isn't that a good thing? Well, yes, if authority is a good thing, if the authority you are trusting is a good thing. It can be dangerous if that's not the case. What about sanctity? What is holy and sacred? Well, I'd like to think that some of the values I've come to embrace over my life's journey are good. I keep testing them, but I have some values I think are sacred, but we need to keep testing. We need to keep questioning. Who is it that is declaring something to be sacred and holy? Are they trustworthy? Is the tradition trustworthy? There was a very, very sad little episode. You have to be very careful watching the news. The war that's going on between the Shia and the Sunni, and the two men in the semi-truck that was driving on the highway was stopped by some Sunni that were blocking the road with all their weapons. And the two Shia got out of the truck and realized they were in big trouble, so the Sunni gunman was interrogating them and saying, what's your religion? And they said, well, we're Sunni like you. And then they got to the tough questions. Well, how do you pray? And the two Shia were not able to give a satisfactory answer. They didn't know how the Sunni prayed differently from the Shia, and so they were executed on the spot. Sanctity, authority, and loyalty. Oh, they can be good things, but there's too many examples of them not being good things for me to want to include them on my list of a moral foundations theory, so I just take those first three. So Jonathan Haidt deals with the big picture. We need to deal with our realities, our national myths of individualism and capitalism and freedom, and what I see as our sense of manifest destiny hangover. We all have opinions that reflect our values on political issues, on corporate behavior, on the economy, on immigration, healthcare, civil rights, the environment, and so on. Sometimes we get overwhelmed by it. Pew tells us that the center is shrinking from 49% to 39%. We're becoming more polarized. And we have tough questions to ask. Does the economic benefit of cheaper oil trump the value of the environment and people's health? Does the value of keeping corporate trade secrets, that is like the composition of fracking fluids, trump the right of people to know what chemicals they're ingesting? All issues of values. I don't want to get mired in a discussion of these things because that can be endless. But I'd like to lift up some values for us to struggle with, that we might gain clarity for ourselves in our journey. The World Values Survey Organization suggests that one of the dynamics in this is traditional values versus secular rational values. And boy, don't we feel that in our culture. Traditional values versus secular rational values. Traditional values emphasize the importance of religion and family ties and deference to authority, and what we hear often, the, quote, traditional family values that some people have captured. Secular rational values have a different perspective. And much of the human variation boils down to these two broad things: hanging on to history and how it's been and how we think it's been and how we want it to be. There is another values site. It's simply called values.com. It's the Foundation for a Better Life, which was begun as a simple idea to promote positive values. This is a very optimistic statement. We believe that people are inherently good and just need an occasional reminder, and that values we live by are worth more when we pass them on. Oh, wouldn't it be so? But we need to think of ourselves as being good and find that within ourselves. There are religions that teach we're totally depraved. So where do we find the good in us? If the good is always out there and never in here, our journey is going to be painful in my estimation. So we do see that we are made in the divine image, that all human beings are worthy of dignity and respect. Yes, some have smudged the image, and maybe some in the course of their life have obliterated that image. But the vast majority of people are decent and good and just simply seek a better life for themselves and their families. And so we embrace this idea that we can grow and we can become better and we can make a contribution. So I started putting together a little listing of yin and yang of the things that I struggle with personally, that we struggle with as a culture. And I've listed just 44 of them in little pairs of ideas in this list. On this values.com site, no, it's another site actually called stevepavlina.com. He has a personal development for smart people. Of course, only smart people would read his column, of course. He's listed 418 items that he thinks are worthy of our focus, that we might get clarity and consistency to our lives. I set forth just this yin and yang of what I've presented in my handout. And one of the many that I struggle with is the caring and the apathy. Sometimes I get tired of caring. When I read my email, right? You may get those notices as well. When you read the news, sometimes you just have to say, I can't care about that anymore. I have to let that one go. We need to care about our personal things, our family things, our work things, our local community things. So when it comes to caring about national things and international things, it gets wearisome. And yet, I'm troubled when I say I don't care. So what kind of values can help me there? Well, my suggestion to you is you take this list, and from time to time you go down that list until you find that pairing that speaks to you in that moment and say, what am I working on? What are we as a culture working on? Because the challenge is not necessarily dealing with the yin and yang of that particular polarity. The struggle is when we have competing good values and we lift up one good value and another good value and say, in this situation, both can't win. We have to make a choice. But reflecting helps us make choices. Seeing what's going on with open eyes, looking across many sources of input from history, from contemporary culture, from a variety of religions and philosophies. We use our own innate abilities to discern that which is good, because deep within us we have a spark of the divine. And so we fan that spark so it might grow within us, and we too can make a positive contribution beyond our own well-being to the well-being of family, church, community, world. May you be blessed in your journey as you struggle with all of these issues, as you deal with what comes into your life. Never give up. Never give up. Enjoy the journey. The solstice reminds us that the seasons change, nature is faithful, the divine spirit is faithful. So we trust the process of life unfolding. And for those of us who are 70 or better, we trust the process of life ending. Not that we're going to love it, but we trust the process, and life is good. May it be so for you in your journey. Amen.